Heavy traffic then at the Beitbridge border post in Musina. Truck drivers are of course avoiding going through Botswana as the country quarantines anyone coming from South Africa for at least 14 days. Now this regulation is not in effect in Zimbabwe, hence the traffic at Beitbridge. For more, let's cross to our reporter Lutendo Bobodi, who is at the Beitbridge border post. Lutendo, it's certainly going to be traffic all the way through. Have you gotten a word from officials, perhaps, if they feel like this is a safe environment? Lutendo, I'm not sure if you can hear me, just really asking about whether officials have been able to tell you whether or not it is a safe environment with regards to the area.
You saw earlier was hectic. You know, you have got to see this. You know, just behind me, it's about 3 lanes. You know, this road has 2 lanes going in one direction. The third one has been improvised to ease traffic. You can imagine somebody that's now 8 kilometers away from the border here, where we were earlier. You know, there's no hope that they'll ever come through tonight, probably tomorrow or a day after. And earlier, you asked what authorities, local or provincial, are doing about this, and we just heard that there's been a meeting that was held virtually between the MEC for traffic for traffic here and the ministers of home affairs in nationally, just to try and brainstorm the way forward. But again, on the ground, we hear that the problem is not necessarily here on the side of South Africa, but on the side of Zimbabwe, where they are being quite bureaucratic and pedantic. You know, everybody is being searched thoroughly. Some are being even required to offload their cargo so they can search thoroughly. And some are being screened, and that process is delaying everything. And they are also working or functioning on a very skeletal staff.
Lutendo, have you heard anything from our local government perhaps then with regards to any communication they've maybe had with the officials out in those regions from Botswana, of course, even in Zimbabwe as well? Lutendo, I don't know if you can hear me at this point. You're just really asking if we've perhaps had any communication with our own authorities with regards to the safety precautions as well, and whether they've had communication with authorities out in Botswana and in Zimbabwe as well.
Well, Arabil, I'm hearing you quite distantly. I haven't really grasped the gist of your question. But what I can tell you is that the problem is over. It's across the South African border. It's on the Zimbabwean side, where people are working on a skeletal scale. They are not used to work, you know, under this enormous pressure, because what is happening here, you know, is not usual. You know, even during the festive season, you don't see a lot of vehicles crossing like this.
Yeah, well, a number, thank you so much for that, Lutendo Bobodi. They're out, of course, at Beitbridge there, giving us a sense of how things are faring out there. Of course, a whole host of traffic then as well, as things continue to shore up. Truck drivers trying to avoid the traffic of Beitbridge. Unfortunately, you do get sort of a quarantine for 14 days then if you do pass through that region. Let's move on to another story now. And a number of Not In My Name activists have demonstrated outside the Education Department offices, and those are in Pretoria. Now, the